Welcome to Money Talks, a weekly feature on FM 93.5 The Berg and WMEG AM 740. Today we will talk just a little bit about money, maybe some of the things you can do with it, how it can impact your life, some ideas on financial planning and investing, and getting the most out of the money you hope to have, already have, or want to pass down. So sit back, relax, listen, and maybe take some notes, as you may have some questions by the time we're done with this edition of Money Talks. Dan Joss, welcome back to Money Talks. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Good. Glad to hear it. Well, we've been talking about all sorts of good stuff, and today you have a new topic for us that's not really completely new. It's a follow-up. What are we talking about?
It is. It's called the 4% rule.
The 4% rule. That's like my grade in life? That's how well I did in school?
Yeah, 4%, that'd be pretty tough.
Yeah, I was in school a while. Don't ask me about my Spanish class. It wasn't very pretty. But we're going to talk about money talks today, not my Spanish grades. 4% rule. Tell me more.
Well, the 4% rule is a guide for withdrawing from a portfolio.
Okay.
So in retirement, a question often comes up, how long will my money last? And since we don't know when we'll die, and we don't know what the markets will do to our portfolio, a 4% rule is the place to start a conversation.
Okay, so is it like 4% is what you have after your spouse and your kids and everybody else has taken all your money?
Not quite.
Not quite.
It's
Spoken like a man who's happily married.
It's what your spouse and kids and you can withdraw from your portfolio safely each year.
Okay.
At least that's the start of it.
That's the start of it. Do tell.
And it's often either misunderstood or misapplied.
Okay.
But let me go back to the beginning of the 4% rule.
Okay.
Bill Bengen was an advisor who retired a few years ago in San Diego. Mm-hmm. And before that, he went to MIT, and so he was a high-level thinker and wanted to answer this question: how much can my clients withdraw every year without running out of money?
Okay.
And more in particular, after retirement. So we're not adding to the portfolio anymore, which means all you're getting is market returns minus what you're taking out.
Okay.
And the concern is having zero left before you die.
Right.
It's always good to have at least $1 left the day you die.
Right.
Because then you won't have run out of money.
Okay. Yeah.
So and he came up with a way of determining this 4% rule.
Well, he was a smart guy.
And the answer he came up with was 4%, but the question was, if I have a portfolio that's 60% stocks, and so we can use the S&P 500, and 40% bonds, and he used the aggregate bond index, and the variation of returns of the stock and the bond market for 30 years. There's good years and bad years.
Right.
And his question was, what can I take out the first year plus an adjustment for inflation every year after that for 30 years? And the answer was 4%. If he took out 4% the first year, so we can apply that for easy math to $1 million portfolio, I can take out $40,000 that year, and then here's where the errors come in. I can take out $40,000 plus an adjustment for inflation the second year, and then keep doing that every year until the 30 years are up. I'll have at least some money left at the end of the 30 years.
Okay. Well, it sounds kind of promising, at least some money left.
It is, and the reason the variability of returns are in there is we can average, let's say, 5% a year for a long time.
Right.
But if you look back over 30 years, that may be 10 or 20% one year, and it may be minus 10 or 20% the next year. So the conundrum he had was withdrawing a safe amount plus adjustment for inflation. Because if you withdraw 4% every year, then some years you may take a big deduction.
Okay.
Understand? If you took out 40% that first year in 06, and then 07 and 08 came along where the markets lost significant money, then your 4% would be much smaller the next 2 years. And he realized that retirees don't want to take a 50% pay cut in retirement.
No, I don't think they do. As a matter of fact, I don't even think the people who aren't retired want to take a 50% pay cut.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so he answered a few questions. One is, what's safe? And then what is a strategy that we can follow to go on with that?
Okay. Well, this sounds pretty complicated.
Well, it could be
Is there an app on my phone for this?
yeah, it's your portfolio value times 0.04 equals, and then that's where your start is. Then you adjust that every year going forward. But there are variations from this that we can talk about at another time.
Okay. So how about I use the app on my phone to dial your number? To dial Dan, Joss, and Joss Financial. What number would that be?
Sure, 757-903-2127.
Okay, because this is complex stuff. I mean, this is, are you going to be living comfortably in your retirement, or are you going to be relying a whole lot on other people? I mean, figuring out the markets and then the ups and the downs, it's pretty important and scary at the same time.
Yeah, lots of variables, and so it's worth a good conversation.
Okay, for them to call you, it cost...
Zero.
Zero.
Yep, and jossfinancial.com.
Okay. Well, Dan, we appreciate you being here as always, and thanks to our audience for listening and tuning in to 93.5 The Bird.
Thank you.
Money Talks is a weekly program presented for the listener's benefit and entertainment. It is provided at no cost to the listener, and the ideas, opinions, and comments are not to be construed as legal advice, tax advice, investment advice, or other advice specific to the listener. Listeners are encouraged to seek the advice of a licensed professional or other qualified party when dealing with financial, legal, tax, medical, investment, insurance, taxidermy, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, real estate, chiropractic, veterinary, oral hygiene, hot air ballooning, etc. We have given you some food for thought. Now, call a licensed professional such as Dan Joss at 757-903-2127. Thanks for listening, and remember, failing to plan is planning to fail.